Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Longbox Chronicles. Tonight I will take a look at something that has been a regular occurrence in the world of comic books for many years. Over the years, quite a few comic books have been released as public service announcements of sorts, be it Spider-Man talking about the evils of smoking and the goodness of proper dental hygiene, or the Teen Titans showing off the ill effects of drugs on at least two separate occasions. This sort of thing was bound to happen. The difference between these comics and the two I am reviewing tonight is that Spidey and the Titans didn't charge for their books. Batman, on the other hand, demands money up front before he teaches anyone anything. The real question is, are these books worth the cover price? Let's start with Batman, Seduction of the Gun. Released in 1993, this was an attempt by DC Comics to show why we need stronger gun control. The story starts off with two gangs trying to set up an exchange of drugs for guns. Batman and the Gotham PD try to stop it, leading to a massive firefight, leaving 5 dead. As the bodies are being dealt with, Commissioner Gordon gives a speech about how the gun problem is getting worse, as well as giving the life story of the main villain, a black revolutionary named Chaka Zulu. Batman and Gordon return to police headquarters to talk to the guy who informed them about the deal. A little wormy shit named Lasker. Lasker, fearing that Chaka might have found out that he was snitching out his gang, begs them to protect his daughter. Batman volunteers Robin to watch after Lasker's daughter, who happens to go to Gotham's inner city school. We cut to Chaka's gang playing basketball and planning their next move. After losing the game, a member of Chaka's gang shoots his opponent and takes his shoes. You might notice this book is a little heavy-handed. Just sit back, it gets a hell of a lot worse. Robin is hanging out with some friends talking about all things nerdy, when one of them shows them how he plans to deal with bullies. Robin evacuates everyone except for his gun-toting friend and then runs to the Batcave to tell of his harrowing experience. When he does, Alfred is there to preach a bunch of stats on gun violence and teens. Batman then uses his parents' death as a perfect example as to why guns can destroy lives. He explains in graphic detail how the hollow point bullets killed his parents. Batsy finishes his speech by saying the mugger who killed his parents was a coward for using a gun. Now, Robin begins his undercover work. Within a few minutes of showing up, someone tries to pick a fight with him. A student in a wheelchair tells Robin not to bother because the bully has a smoker in his pocket. I've heard of a lot of terms for guns, but smoker is a pretty new one to me. I really do think that whoever they got to teach these writers all the slang in this book must have been fucking with them. By this time, Batman, now posing as Lasker, has infiltrated the gang. He sets up for a pickup for more of the guns. While all this is going on, Chaka sends one of his men to the school to kill Lasker's daughter if anything goes awry. Gordon goes to the gun manufacturer, who happens to be in Gotham City. He talks about how these guns are his best sellers and he has no plans on ceasing production on them. They argue back and forth about how these guns are more for gang violence than for collectors. Honestly, it's just another really crappy soapbox session against firearms. Back at the school, Robin befriends a small group of students who, like everyone else in this book, rattles off stats about the percentage of students with guns and how the metal detectors are almost never turned on. They also explain how most of their hopes and dreams have been dashed by gun violence. They also explain that everyone with a gun is a trigger-happy psycho. The next day, Chaka's inside man is given his orders, and all hell breaks loose. And not only is Lasker's daughter dead, but so is Robin's handicapped friend. After kicking the shit out of the bully from earlier, he heads off to find the man responsible for the woman's death. Chaka informs Batman that he knows that he isn't who he says he is. While Batman causes most of the gang to shoot themselves, Robin curb stomps the living shit out of the gunman from the school. Batman finally knocks out Chaka and sends him off to jail. The comic ends at a funeral. Robin talks about how guilty he feels for letting everyone down, and Batman just tells him that it is up to us to reject guns. I swear, this thing couldn't be any more heavy-handed if it fucking tried. This comic is a perfect example of how not to do this sort of thing. Our next book, on the other hand, is a perfect example on how to properly do a public service comic book. Published in 1996, Batman: The Death of Innocence was all about the dangers of landmines. It starts off with what looks to be a typical family drive in the woods until they hit a landmine and only a small child named Sarah remains alive. We find out that the man driving the car was an employee of Bruce Wayne's, and his wife is pissed because their daughter is missing. Feeling guilty for essentially sending the man to his doom, Bruce throws on the cape and cowl and goes to find the daughter and her friend in the war-torn country of Kravia. Bats is airlifted into the country with a mine-sniffing dog. He isn't there more than 2 minutes before the dog is killed by a sniper's bullet. The sniper informs Batman that there are over 100 mines in the field he landed in and walks away. Batman slowly works his way through the field, going after the sniper. After getting into a tree and trying to get some meditative rest, he hears some soldiers questioning some locals about the location of an American girl. Knowing that they are looking for the same person he is, Batman quickly dispatches the goons and sends the locals on their way. Back on the hunt, Batman comes to the wreckage from the beginning of the book. He finds the body of Sarah's friend. He gives her a quick and respectable burial and talks about how this sort of thing shouldn't happen to children. He finds some tire tracks and follows them right to a group of soldiers planting more landmines. He overhears how they leave certain ones partially unburied to attract children. Batman takes them out and does something he never thought he would ever do. He grabs one of their guns and shoots at the landmines, causing them to detonate. The whole time he talks about his hatred of guns and how this is a special circumstance. He once more uses the tire tracks to lead himself to their headquarters. After sneaking into the compound, he meets up with the sniper from earlier, Colonel Frank. She begins to explain why she decided to fight in this war, and how her children were ruthlessly gunned down before her eyes. The conversation finally gets around to Sarah. Frank says that Sarah's body will be sent to the American ambassador once they are done with her. After taking care of the colonel, Batman drives off to find Sarah. He finds her with 2 other Kravians as they are forced to walk into a minefield. Batman takes care of the soldiers and has Sarah and the other 2 returned. Now with the little girl in tow, Batman runs as far as he can into a clearing. As he tries to contact the rescue chopper, Sarah notices what looks like a yo-yo. Before Batman can stop her, she triggers the landmine, killing her instantly. Okay guys, yes, the ending is one hell of a downer, but it's still a powerful ending. And the rest of this comic are essays and facts about landmines. So rather than preach in the comic, they give you additional reading if you want to learn more. The essays are often heartbreaking and the facts are rather chilling. Like I said, the death of innocence is how a PSA comic should be written. The message is there and it's not given at the expense of a fantastic story. If you haven't had a chance to read this book, I strongly suggest finding it. After all, I honestly can only cover so much in these videos, and finding a copy of this would definitely be worth your time and money. And with that, we come to the close of this episode of the Longbox Chronicles. Take care, and I'll see you all in the near future. Peace.